Hello everyone and welcome back to Lucky Loaders 15, where I'll be giving you 5 of my best tips for tomorrow's racing. Now before we get into those selections, I just quickly want to apologise and just recap on how our selections ran today. It was an absolutely dreadful day for us today, nothing really to write home about at all. We had a non-runner in the 3:20 at Leicester. That was meant to be our opening tip, but unfortunately Shady McCoy, like I said there, was a non-runner, so that was disappointing. Really fancied him to go well, and there was a bit of market support around for him this morning as well. I think he was around about 3-1, 10-3 in the betting markets when he was withdrawn, so that was frustrating. Our Longshot gemologist could never really get into the race and never looked like finishing in the frame. We did put it up with the extra places, the 4 places that were on offer at 10-1 each way with Sky Bet, Paddy Power and Betfair, and like all good each way bets. Finished one place outside of those places, finished in 5th, so that was a little bit frustrating there. Then we went with our extra tip at Astronaute in the conditions race, the feature race at Leicester. He was playing up like a monkey at the start, to be honest with you. He didn't look like he wanted to go in the stalls, and they took a long time to get him in, really. That caused a bit of a backlog for some of the other races later on in the UK, and in the end, he went out to the front early, but he didn't really dominate the field like he's done in the past. And in the end, he just faded away, and he was very disappointing. And then our nap as well, we were looking for our 6th consecutive winning nap. You got to understand that these streaks are always gonna come to an end at some point. We put up Costello for Holly Doyle and Mike Murphy, and there was a late market move for it. We put it up at 5-1 last night. It's pretty much been that price for the majority of the day. I think just did drift out at one point, maybe to 6-1, 13-2. But if you watched the race or were watching the betting the last 15-20 minutes before the race, you would have seen that there was quite a bit of money for it. I think it went off at 10-3 favourite, and in the end, Holly, she never really got him in contention. I was expecting a bit more of a prominent ride, to be honest with you. If you watched the replay back of his last run at Wolverhampton, he'd been pretty much up there with the pace, and that's the way you needed to be at Windsor tonight. You didn't really see too many horses coming from off the pace. You wanted it to be prominent and handy, and he wasn't really ever involved. And I think he probably wants a slightly more longer trip. He wants to go up in trip, probably to 1.5 miles in my opinion. If you looked at his breeding, especially on his dam side as well, he definitely probably would like to maybe get 1.5 miles. So I'm not completely done with Costello. I think a bit more of a prominent ride over a slightly longer trip, that's going to see him to good effect, because I don't think he particularly has a change of gear, but he sticks at it quite well. And I think Mike Murphy will find a race for him, but it just wasn't his day, and the race wasn't run to suit. So it has been a frustrating day today. Hopefully it's just a blip. We've been in good form already this month. We've been in profit every single day until today. So hopefully it's just a little blip. And sorry for all the new followers. That's the way it often goes sometimes when you gain some new followers. You often start with them on a bad run, and it can be frustrating if you've just started following me. So hopefully it is just a little blip, and we can get back to winning ways tomorrow. And we've got 5 tips tomorrow where we're going to be focusing on quite a few of the cards tomorrow, not all in one place. We're kind of spreading out our tips, but that's because I fancied quite a few actually tomorrow. And we're actually going to be starting with a bit of jumping in the 240 at Newton Abbot with a horse called Stormhome for John Joe Neal Jr. and Colin Tizard. Now this horse is currently 8-1 in the markets, best price, and I'm going to recommend an each way selection here. I'm just recording this video, by the way, just after 7 o'clock, so these are the prices at the current time of recording, and you can always find what time this video was recorded in the description box below. So the current price is 8-1, and this horse, last time we saw him, I thought ran a really encouraging race when he finished in 3rd place at Uttoxeter when Harry Kimber was booked that day. Now if you actually look at the race, the David Pipe horse, Story of Friends, who's actually favourite for this race tomorrow at Newton Abbot, actually went on 1 on his next start, but there was 10 lengths between Stormhome and Story of Friends. Story of Friends was 10 lengths behind Stormhome, and even though yes, there's a little bit more of they're a little bit more closer in the weights tomorrow, I still think Stormhome has got a bit more to come from him, and he's still potentially very well handicapped off a mark of 121. The concern for some people tomorrow is will he handle going up in trip. He really shaped to me last time that he probably would like to go up in trip. And even though on his dam side, nothing's really shown that they stayed more than 2.5 miles, he's actually by King's Theatre. And I was looking at some of his progeny earlier, just to think, could he get the 3 miles? And I can see no reason why not. King's Theatre is a sire to Q Card, who could do well over 3 miles. He's a sire of Champ, an RSA winner. So he has got definitely stamina on his dad's side of the pedigree, and I just think going up in trip tomorrow could just unlock another dimension to him. And this isn't a particularly strong race, in my opinion, even though it is the feature race tomorrow, and you can make a case for a few of them. I think, though, the track at Newton Abbot will definitely suit him. It's quite a sharp track. You're kind of always on the move. There's not too many long straights, and you often do quite a few circuits. I like it at Newton Abbot. If you've ever been there, and hopefully if you've not been there, you can go there after lockdown. It's one of the only tracks that I've been to where you can pretty much see the action all across the track. They don't go off into a far corner and you can't really see what's going on. You get a good level view. It's pretty flat. And yeah, I think the track tomorrow will definitely suit him. Also as well, Colin Tizard, he's not been having too many runners since Jumps racing resumed on July the 1st, but he has been taken over. He's had a few winners, and I just think this horse, like I said, tomorrow, the good ground, going up in trip, I think it could just unlock another dimension, and I think he's well capable of running a big race off his current handicap mark. So for me, he's just going to be an extra tip tomorrow, but I'd be disappointed if he couldn't be there or thereabouts. So that's going to be the tip there. We then go to Catterick for my next best in the 355 with a horse called Captain Corcoran for Rachel Richardson and Eric Halston. Eric Halston does really well with his sprinters, and last time he seemed to get to the bottom of him, running him on soft ground, and I think that's the key to him. If you actually look at some of his form as a juvenile when he was with Michael O'Callaghan last year, who's another trainer in Ireland that often pays to do well with his sprinters, he ran a good race when he won. I think it was either at Naas or Navan, one of the two, and he was running against some good horses that day, particularly Garsman, who's now with Michael Appleby, part of the Horse Watchers group, that are part of the Dixon brothers you might see sometimes on racing TV. And Garsman's now rated in the high 80s. And this horse, last time we saw him, he won off a mark of 60, and he was put up £5 for that. He's off a mark of 65, and when he was running in Ireland, he won that race off a mark of 70. So I think there's a lot more to come. There's also as well, the ground's going to be in his favour tomorrow. It's currently described as soft ground at Catterick, and I don't see it drying out too much. So the ground conditions should be in his favour. And I think off a mark of 65, he still might have a little bit more scope to offer. So for me, I think there's a lot of things in his favour tomorrow. He could still take another leap forward. He still could be well handicapped. And that's why I'm going to go with him as my next best. We then go to the Nap at Newcastle in the 445. Now, pretty much every Tom, Dick and Harry is probably going to be having a few quid on this horse tomorrow. It's already been well gambled. When I first saw the price, I think this horse was priced up around about 9-4. That price is completely gone now. At the current time of recording, 13-8 was the best price available. And this horse is trained by David Simcock and Jamie Spencer. Now, we put this horse up when he finished in 4th place at Ascot, when he went into everybody's notebook after his unlucky run, running on really strongly when Hayley Turner was riding that day. And if you actually went back through his form before that, he was showing a good level of ability. He won a race at Kempton, which has been well franked by Cepheus for Brian Meehan, who is now rated 96, finished second in the Lavezza Stakes behind our next best winner on Saturday, Shandos. So that form's looking good. He also went on, I think, to go and win a good handicap at Glorious Goodwood. So there's a lot of positive form there with Cepheus, and he was giving him a hell of a lot of weight that day because Cepheus was well in claiming the £3 allowance. And Omnivega, I think going back to the all-weather is a positive move, and I just think the way the race tomorrow could set up could be ideal for Omnivega. He's a horse that likes to be held up, and we know Jamie Spencer often excels under these tactics, and he's going to have plenty of pace on tomorrow from the likes of Ifraz, and Indigo Lake, and they're going to most likely be racing prominent, and it can be often a long way home up that long straight at Newcastle. And we saw it the other day when we put up our nap winner at Newcastle. It tended to pay to be held up out the back, and I think that's definitely going to suit him tomorrow. He's going to come with a late run, and if he's good enough, which I think he should be, I think he's still potentially well handicapped off a mark of 90. And if he was given pretty much a stone in weight away to Cepheus, who's now rated 96, he could still have another 5, 6, 7 pounds off this handicap mark easily, despite having to give away a bit of weight tomorrow to some younger rivals. So I think Omnivega, he's the one they've all got to beat tomorrow. He's not an original selection, but I think he's got solid credentials, and I'll be disappointed if he wasn't there or thereabouts come the winning line. So Omnivega it is. That's the nap in the 4:45. We then go with an extra tip in the 5:10 at Goodwood with a horse called Dream Today for Safi Osborne, claiming 7, riding for her father Jamie. Now this horse, last time we saw him, he ran a good race when he finished in 2nd place over 6 furlongs at Goodwood. He was running on really strongly that day, and that was in a better race in my opinion than what he's going to be running in tomorrow. And he's been running really well with credit, but just been finding 1 or 2 a little bit more well handicapped than he is. But he's continued to drop down the weights. He was though, however, raised a couple of pounds for that effort. But Safi Osborne, like I said, she's going to be claiming 7 pounds, and she's done quite well so far in her short career. She's only been riding now as an apprentice jockey for the last couple of months, and she's had a couple of winners, and I think she's got a good chance in this horse tomorrow as well. Now I think the race will set up quite well for her. There's going to be plenty of pace on. I can see the likes of Petoxide going forward, also as well Little Boy Blue. You know, these kind of horses that are going to be quite closely drawn to our selection, they like to run quick from the get-go, and I think it could just set up for a horse like Dream Today. Like I said, he has been knocking on the door, but I think his turn is coming, and at 5-1 I think that's a fairly backable price there. I'm only going to recommend a win bet, but still nonetheless, you know, I think the race could set up just perfectly for him tomorrow, and I'd be disappointed again if he wasn't running on strongly at the end. So that's going to be the selection there. We then go with our final selection, which is the Longshot tomorrow in the 5:30 at Catterick for the amateur race. We're going with Percy Prosecco here for Brodie Hampson, who's riding for her partner Archie Watson. Now Brodie, I've often followed her in a couple of amateur races, and she's done me some good favours. Now this horse ran an encouraging reappearance last time out when he finished in 4th place over the course and distance. If you actually go back through his form, he actually won on soft ground at the course last year, and he just shaped like he really needed the run. He was running on quite strongly in the end, and I just think in this race tomorrow, where he's not going to have to carry so much of a bigger weight, that's going to help him. And Brodie Hampson is an underrated jockey in my opinion. She does quite well as well when she's ridden over jumps, and in this sphere you always want a decent amateur, and Brodie Hampson in my opinion is quite good tactically. I think there's a lot to like about this horse's chances tomorrow. Will be able to cope the ground, likes the course as well, and I think at 9-1 there, that's a fairly big price. And again, like I said, I'd be disappointed if this horse couldn't finish at least in the first 3. So a 9-1 tomorrow, I think that's a fair each way bet, and it could be a big enough price for this horse to go and win. So yeah, they're the 5 tips for tomorrow's racing, and I'll just quickly run through them. The extra tip starts off in the 2:40 at Newton Abbot with Storm Home at 8-1 each way. We then go the next best in the 3:55 at Catterick with Captain Corcoran, 3-1 win only bet. The nap is Omnivega in the 44-45 at Newcastle, 13-8 win only bet. Another extra tip is in the 5:10 at Goodwood with Dream Today for Savi Osborne and Jamie Osborne, 5-1 win only bet. Then we finish with the long shot in the 5:30 at Catterick with Percy Prosecco, and hopefully he can go fairly close for us in the last at 9-1 each way. So they're the tips for tomorrow. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel here at Lucky Loaders 15. Also as well, if you want to follow me on social media, you can do, where my handle is at Lucky Loader 15. And if you want to find out a little bit more about myself, why don't you check out my website, which is www.chrisloaderracing.co.uk. So please gamble responsibly. Hopefully we can have some winners tomorrow, and we'll be seeing you soon.